Mystical Night of Glowing Ghosts and Dreams. A Datura trip report by Peaceful Tripper 05, uploaded to Earwid August 8th, 2004. My second time doing this horribly beautiful drug. A night filled with hallucinations so complex and so numerous that it is hard to recount the experience from a sober mindset. I will relate it to you now as best as I can. Here is my story. The warm breeze blew through the summer night and softly touched my face. My eyes sparkled with eager excitement. My friend Ron and I stood looking down at the large trumpet flowers reaching skyward to the starlit sky. We knelt down and carefully clipped off several dark green, soft-skinned leaves, as well as a few of the spiny green and brown seed pods, and a sweet-smelling flower. Having collected our loot, we set off on the brisk walk back to my friend's house. Upon arriving, we threw open the back door and proceeded to the kitchen. We got out the cutting board and, since I read that the seeds are most potent, cut open a seed pod apiece. After removing the spiny outer layer, we both put 40 to 60 seeds on a spoon and ate them, past the point of no return. I went into the living room and sat down on the couch, ready to play Vice City and watch Scarface. For an hour or so, I felt fairly normal. Although especially into the video game I was playing, I was very immersed. After an hour and a half I began to feel very drunk. But not really. It was very strange. To me, the first effects of Datura resemble that of ether, which I first heard of in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, and I'm very fond of. My mindset seemed almost sober, although I had very little control of my appendages. I confirmed that Ron felt this way as well, being that we were sharing our excitement at feeling the first effects of the drug. Then, after about 2.5 hours, the visions began to take hold. The room began to rhythmically change hue and colour as the walls began to shudder. Amazed by the sight, I began to talk quickly and excitedly to my friend, only to look over at him after about 5 minutes of talking and realise that he was no longer there. Undisturbed by his absence, I sat back and calmly let the visions spring forth. Sitting there, I began to feel as if I no longer had a body. I felt light and weightless, and I wasn't sure if I was sleeping or not. Suddenly, many people began to walk into the room. Most were friends and greeted me normally, making it seem as if they were real. I suppose maybe Ron had invited them over. It all just seemed very normal to me at the time. That is, until I realised they were entering the room through the walls, appearing suddenly in one place, having a brief conversation with me, then disappearing once more. Abruptly, a warm feeling flooded my body, literally forcing my eyelids shut. The world blurred. Glass blades brushed the side of my face, tickling me into consciousness. Patterns unfolded and twined through the very air around me, as if signals from another dimension. I got on my feet and began to follow my glowing white-robed guides. I walked slowly along the stone path leading to the back door. As I walked, the glass on the sides of the path began to ripple, looking similar to green water. At long last, I reached the door and stumbled inside. Total chaos. Food strewn across the floor, overturned chairs and broken dishes, strange objects in bizarre places. The clock read 4:42 AM, about 5 hours since takeoff. Ignoring the mess, I picked my way to the living room where I found Ron sniffing the glass of the window. We said a few words to each other, then he was drowned out by the music that began to pound in my ears. It was a song called Thrasher by Neil Young. It was loud, so I tried to turn it down, only to find that the radio was off. Confused, I began the walk very slowly down the hall to the bathroom. Down the windy halls of friendship to the rose clipped by the bullwhip, the motel of lost companions waits with heated pool and bar. The words of the song rung throughout my soul, and I began to see glowing lights around me. To my amazement, the lights changed form and shape to become many people I had known who had died. And so it was that I walked and talked with glowing ghosts. I smoked bowls and talked of old times with friends and loved ones that I thought were forever lost to me. It was truly a life-changing experience. So complex were the hallucinations that I was really able to view, for one last time, the exact behaviour and personalities of people long dead. Datura, while a potentially dangerous substance, has only brought me joy and wondrous experiences. I hope to all that try it that they have experiences such as mine, and are able, even for a brief time, to enter this mystical world of spirits and ghosts. Space Cowboy rides a wild stallion. A nutmeg, ephedrine and Datura trip report by Singing Cowboy, uploaded to Earwid, August 10th, 2001. Let me begin by stating that I am a pure 100% corn-fed redneck cowboy. I'm a 32-year-old male with a bit of a wild side. Apart from a fast horse and a well-tuned guitar, I am certain that the one thing that I enjoy is a unique experience. This was by far the most unique of them all. Friday evening, 6:20 PM. After finishing preparing my elixir of nutmeg, I drank half of the tea and the taste was bitter but not totally prohibiting. I immediately slammed the rest down me and popped an ephedrine 325mg to ensure I would be awake to enjoy the fruit of my labour. By 7:30 PM, I was feeling a definite difference in my state, but I couldn't really describe it. I wasn't buzzing, but I certainly wasn't baseline either. I picked up my guitar and began to strum, and by 8:40 PM or so, I began to realise that at some point I'd stopped playing my guitar and was just sitting in a chair with it in my lap. I distinctly remember beginning to play Hotel California when my little one-man jam session started, but I don't know if I finished the song or not. This made me feel a bit odd, but I took consolation in the fact that it was only 8:40 PM, thus only an hour had actually passed. I walked about the house at this point, searching for something I knew I must and eventually could find, but I have no clue what it is or why I'm looking for it. By the time I satisfied myself that the mystery item I sought was not to be found in the house, it was 11:15 PM. I was feeling a strange, light, airy feeling, and then all hell broke loose. I just entered the Twilight Zone. A bit more history is in order here. I've used some outstanding cannabis and experimented with crank, and some small doses of acid, so I'm not a virgin to the altered states. However, I'm not exactly a tripper either, and my experiences were limited to this point. I then did the most ignorant thing I have ever done in my life. I went to my trusty cupboard in the garage and withdrew a bottle containing Jimson weed seeds that I planned to experiment with when I developed the nerve, and I helped myself right there to about 1/4 of a teaspoon of the seeds. By 2 AM, I began to realise things were not normal by any standard. I noted this when the room began to close in around me, and the seat of my chair began to sink into the bowels of the earth. I ejected myself from the chair to find that the room that used to be 18 feet by 26 feet had barely enough room for me to stand in. I chose the only logical response to this and ran outside where I could breathe. Found myself out in the middle of the yard, around 15 acres, looking at the clear night sky. I saw a zillion stars and felt an inner peace and silence that can only be described as a religious experience. Each star suddenly had a purpose and a meaning. The cool grass beneath my feet was suddenly alive and deserved to be, and most of all, I was a part of everything. The great scheme of things was right here in front of me, as if a great door had somehow been opened to reveal that there was a meaning to life, and each living thing and each unliving object had a common thread and were balanced in their own way. I reluctantly went back inside to discover it was 4:25 AM, and it had only been seconds since I went out. Or was it days? I fell asleep listening to some classical music and woke at 9 AM feeling like $1,000,000 plus tax. And then it dawned on me that the feeling of serenity was still there. I went out to begin my daily chores of feeding the animals and such, and found this to be a real pleasure. I felt like I understood them in a weird sort of way. I felt a great deal of compassion and empathy towards them. The morning sun was an awesome sight and feeling as it soaked into my skin. It has been 4 days since my ride on that wild steed, and I must tell you, the feelings are far from gone. But they are wonderful feelings, fortunately. I will state the following. I did a dangerous thing in an altered state by mixing in the Jimson weed. I realise now that the results could have easily turned tragic. I in no way condone the combination I consumed. It is potentially fatal. I was fortunate enough to have had a pleasant experience. One thing I do condone is a good horse, a well-tuned guitar, and living life to its fullest potential by finding the door that this experience opened for me. Whether you find it at the local health food store or growing in your backyard, find it. It is an incredible discovery. I'm not sure how long this feeling will last, but the memories of it will be eternal. Well, I'm now off to record some more music with the band. Damn, it is wonderful to be alive. Hey, do me a favour everyone, and don't tell the record company about this, okay? It'll be our little secret. And the next time you feel like the world is on your shoulders, open that door. I bet there's a song in that. Keep listening, folks. I'll see what I can do. Most sincerely, Singing Cowboy.